Hello and welcome to the Unofficial Controller Podcast, your weekly gaming podcast, episode 53. Games news, gaming news. With me, George, as always joined by Tom, news hound to my John Craven's news round. How's it going?
I'm very well, mate. Thank you. How are you?
Yes, I'm good. A little bit of a different format. We normally have a feature. This week, we're not going to because we've had
a bit of a tidal wave of news this week, haven't we? It's starting to pick up pace.
One thing
usually
for the next month, maybe we might just be doing news, and all the news, gaming news.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of announcements to get through over the next couple of months. There's the Summer Games Fest and various other digital events taking the place of E3. So it's going to be important. We want to make sure we're bringing you guys all the latest news and up and coming events in gaming.
Okay, well, those that know the format, those that are new to the show, Tom, are going to ask, well, what's coming up? Well, we're not doing the feature that we'd normally doing. We're having a news blowout. Now, we're doing the news, no feature. Normally there'd be a feature, a retrospective or gaming opinion piece. And then we'd have our new release highlights for the week by the elusive Stingray, the immortal Stingray. Not even the end of Farmerton can kill him off. And then I ask you what you're hoping to play over the next gaming week. But we start the show, as always, even he's survived. Odders, he's nearly worn out that Mad Cat's wheel, though. He's going a little bit crazy on lockdown. Grip it one last time, friend. Tom, what have you been playing?
This week I've been playing some more Streets of Rage 4. Very much enjoying that still. Me and a friend of mine, we've cleared a couple of levels of the Mania mode, which is the hardest difficulty. We got the trophy for that, so we're pretty chuffed. We've also tackled Arcade, which is the old-fashioned way of trying to play the game through in one go with 3 lives, I think it is, on normal mode. We have only got to stage 7 and then just run out of lives. It's pretty tough.
That's a bit of a fallacy, because if it really was at the arcade and you took enough of Mummy's purse, money. Called her mummy, but mummy's money. You could just pump that machine through until you just ground through with wallet over style.
You could, yeah. Sadly, no advantage is there for that. The PS4 doesn't like it when I put pound coins in it.
Can't wait for your old boy to start slotting pound coins in your next gen console.
I'm trying to figure out a way of like putting it in some kind of case and then just have the leads going through a hole.
You know what will happen if you did that? You'd wake up one morning to a melted pile of plastic in a pile of plastic.
Yeah, definitely. I think it would get a bit too warm, wouldn't it? Especially with the power we've seen this week with some next-gen footage.
Oh, yes.
But we'll get to that. Yeah.
Save yourself.
I'm whetting the appetites.
Well, you've pretty much blown it.
I have really, haven't I?
Yeah, that's like one of those times where you go to a restaurant and you pick a starter like a sharing platter and you end up gorging on more of it than you should do. You've had more than your share of said platter. And
you're full.
You're full.
No main course.
The main comes out, you're like, ooh, God, I don't know. Yeah. You eat it anyway, but then you go home, you have to have a full belly lie down and you can't get comfortable because you've got too much food and liquid sloshing around in your belly. Stops you from sleeping. You regret ever having that starter. Faux pas.
A genuine mistake.
What else have you been playing?
Well, I've been continuing my run of Last of Us Remastered in anticipation of the sequel. Really enjoying that. It's quite good just to get involved with the story a bit more again. Just go into the next one with a fresh view of the previous story and the characters. There's some really good moments in that first game, particularly like the part I've just done where I'm going through the sort of narrow road in like a small American village and you're getting shot at by a sniper and you've got to work your way down either side of the map to avoid his fire, and then you have to take him out in the house, and then you're also covering your other co-survivors and covering them with said sniper rifle from the infected. But yeah, it's sort of solid game, probably deserving of its praise back in the day. It's a little bit creaky now, but I think...
you're of that opinion. I'd asked this last time and you weren't sure, but
Yeah, after playing a bit more, I think it does feel a little bit clunky in places, and the graphics are still really top notch, but they do look a little bit previous gen, especially now we're getting to the end of this generation and seeing like really the max of what they can do with the PS4 and Xbox One X.
Yeah.
But yeah, bit of Overwatch, bit of Call of Duty, the usual. Really looking forward to Overwatch 2. We've not heard anything else on that since it was announced, really. I don't know whether it's going to get delayed due to current world events. I hope not. And one thing I'd really like them to implement is cross-platform, because I've got a few friends who play on different platforms, and it'd be just nice to get a team of 6 together on Overwatch 2, but I don't know who's not keen, whether it's Blizzard or whether it's PlayStation. Are usually known for not playing with friends, aren't they? But we'll see.
Well, they relaxed all that, so
they did a little bit, yeah. I think from fan pressure, probably. But yeah.
Okay.
What have I
been playing? Well, we'll start at the beginning. Been playing Skitching on the Mega Drive.
What's that all about?
It's a rollerblading version of Road Rash.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is
sounds
very 90s tude.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a bit. It's not as good as Road Rash. Is
it from the behind perspective, or is it more of like a Paperboy where you?
No, it's from behind. It's basically, from what I can work out, the Road Rash engine with an animated rollerblader going down the roads. You grab on the back of cars. It's as Mega Drive as you'd expect.
Style.
Yeah. Someone comes by, you got to punch them. It's very hit or miss, and luck rather than judgment as to whether you win the race or not. The boy liked it. It was kind of edgy enough for him to get some satisfaction out of. Been playing Total NBA 96 on the PlayStation 1, inspired by our NBA Jam playthrough. I had Total NBA 97 when it first came out on PlayStation 1, and it was in a cardboard box with the actual exterior skin of a baseball stuck on the front of it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, well, I've seen it. I had that back in the day. I bought it at launch. I was like, yeah, I want this. I looked in all the mags, and you know what basketball games are like? They always look like the best game graphically you can get. And I was like, yeah, I want this. Nothing looks better than this. And even on a CRT, when I've been playing the original one, I was like, what one thought was acceptable in 96 is not acceptable to one now. But, it plays all right. It's obviously a little bit more simmy than NBA Jam, which is still the better game in my opinion, probably. I'm keen to get 97, but for some bizarre reason, it seems to be holding a lot of value for that. You can get just a normal case version of it, but I want the one with the basketball cover on it because of nostalgia. Why not? So I'm keeping my eye out for that. Played Sewer Shark this week. It's not too bad. It's quite difficult to remember. You get called out these coordinates. So this robot from the deep south will be like, vomit spotted at 3, 6, 9. And that's probably one of the easier ones to remember. So that means next time you come up and you see a right, you've got to take it. Then after that, next time you see a down, you've got to take it. Then after that, if you see a left, you've got to take it. If you don't take 3, 6, 9 at the earliest opportunity on the coordinates, it's game over.
Oh, so fairly tough then.
Yeah, it is hard. Shooting the critters, it's hard because you have to hit a certain amount of them while also trying to concentrate and use the same D-pad for steering as you do for shooting. Apologies to the fans who are listening if there's any interference. We'll see if Phil can master that out in the edit. He's good, but I don't know if he's that good, Tom. Goodness knows what it is. It's probably your dark web router kicking in.
It is, yeah. Keep that running in the background.
How is New York while you're held up there in your sun-drenched loft apartment?
I don't really get out much on the ground floor. I just stay up here. I've got a telescope and just keep an eye on what's going on.
Right.
I have all my food delivered.
For exercise, do you send out your Taiwanese house slave to do that for you, so you don't have to? Like go and do a marathon so I can post on Instagram with some sweat that I've done it. Take my phone, turn on Strava, make me look like a hero.
She wears like my vest and shorts as well, so bring it back and like lay it out on the bed in a very artsy style with a pair of like I ordered off eBay a pair of like really well worn running shoes, and
sneakers.
Thought, sneakers as we call them over here. So I even being inspired by Streets of Rage, I got like an Axel headband as well.
Oh wow!
Did a little artsy Instagram post and put that out there.
Is that for your
just the usual
celebrity account, not the one where you were Farmerton making at you as some sort of menial guy? I mean, you're an actor, method acting. I bet a method actor guy who lives in a village.
1.5 million likes for that one, so that's mediocre, I thought, really. But do you ever want to use
your celebrity to help promote the show?
No. It's not really. It's not really the done thing for sort of. I'm more a Daniel Day-Lewis. Like I just keep like I go and become a cobbler in Italy for a few months.
All right.
Just do random stuff like that.
Okay, that's.
I don't do any charity stuff. I just no.
Okay.
I don't need to keep the profile that high.
The show's a charity for you.
It is, yeah. Yeah, I see it as a charity. I'm just doing good work doing that. And I have a very Patrick Bateman.
If it wasn't true, it would actually be quite funny.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. Well, let me finish off what I've been playing. Well, I don't need to talk about Minecraft because there's a log of 2 hours a day of that content poured out for people. If you're interested, 3:15 on a weekend, 5:15 on the weekday.
When am I going to see some spondolis from that then?
Well, unfortunately, the YouTube channel's about as popular as syphilis. So unless you want to promote that with your massive celebrity ego, it's going to be a slow old grind. But every single step we take together will be an audience that is true, loved. I call it a boutique stream. I know everyone in the chat, and I know everything about everyone in the chat now. So we can have these tailored streams for people.
Once we're done with this nonsense on here, I'm having another Zoom chat with Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd about my sort of cameo in the Ghostbusters sequel. So I might see where the bill's down for promoting that for the YouTube channel. He's always keen. He's not got much money these days. So.
If I send you a VHS copy of Groundhog Day, is there any chance you could get him to sign it? Or are you zooming him, aren't you? So,
yeah, I think I could post it to him. That'd be fine, and he's post it back. Or we could get our no, shouldn't call them that. Maid to go between the houses, the apartments.
Okay. Non-paid housemaid. Could you call her a non-paid housemaid?
She's paid just enough. Living wage.
What in?
Potatoes.
It's all gone very Farmerton. That was season 1. This is the realism era. This is where we basically open up about who we really are. Farmerton was then. Now you're trapped in New York. So that's how it goes. Just live it up. Phil, the producer's not keen. He's like, no, just get on with it, will you? What else have I been playing? We'll do that in what you're... Prince of Persia for the upcoming Assassin's Creed retrospective. Prince of Persia on the PlayStation 2 and Xbox is made by the Assassin's Creed team.
I hear it was a forerunner for that as well.
Oh, well, yes. Your gaming knowledge is incredible, Tom. One would imagine.
How do I do it?
I don't know. You normally try and get as much gaming knowledge written down and then make an absolute boo-boo stinker that we can't edit out, so we have to re-record the show and you use my lines as your own. I mean, that's normally how it goes. They were going to call Assassin's Creed Prince of Persia Assassins, But Jordan McEnroe or whatever his name was, he was like, no, that's not happening. So they rebooted it. But one thing I'll say to you, there's been some animation reuse in Assassin's Creed from Prince of Persia, the PS2 game. That's a fact. I've seen the animations almost frame for frame. And those same animations are being used not only on the PS3 and Xbox 360, but the PS4 and Xbox One. They could do with reanimating that game, in my opinion. But we'll save that for the retrospective. I'll get some more evidence to back that rather outlandish claim up. But the pole deformation, the way you move on the pole and how it swings and you swing and interact with the pole and then land on other poles once releasing or back ejecting, as they call it in Assassin's Creed. Same animation move. Prove me wrong, gamers. Prove me wrong. Anyway, that's enough of that. It's time to slip, slop, and slide into what we're going to call the feature stroke news. Had a baby. We've scoured the very darkest regions of the internet. You know what's scripted and you know what's not. We scoured the very darkest regions of the internet to bring you the latest stories. First up, beard customization, but not for female Vikings, Tom. New news on Assassin's Creed Valhalla. You won't be able to sculpt protagonist Elvor's face in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. You do have quite a lot of control over his appearance, at least when compared to the main characters of previous Assassin's Creed games. We already knew that you'll be able to get tattoos, apply war paint to your mug, but in a recent Washington Post live stream, and well worth a watch if you're interested in Valhalla, director Ashraf Ismail confirms that you'll also have the option of tweaking Elvor's hair. You'll apparently have access to a number of different hairstyles as well as beard styles, but that only applies. And I'm sure any other day of the year, Tom, this would have been a controversy, but this only applies if you're playing as a male Elvor. Put this all together and you've got the most customizable Assassin's Creed protagonist in the history of Assassin's Creed. What do you make about that?
Yeah, I think that kind of makes sense because you've Vikings obviously would have had braided hair, plaited beard. It's quite a distinct look and style of their culture, isn't it? So I think people are going to want to do that to get the sort of immersion and feel of being a Viking. I think that's it's good. I think more customization and stuff is good.
Okay.
The argument against that is like, let's look at, we've talked before about Mass Effect. When I see clips of that and it's not just the standard Commander Shepard, I'm like, who's that? That's not Commander Shepard.
One thing I'd say about that is imagine career mode on WWE where you use to create, but not one of the actual captured in-game characters.
Yeah.
If you customize this character too much, is it all is his beard going to glitch through his clothes? Is it all of a sudden going to get some sort of weird graphical artiface and decide it's going to flick up in the air in the middle of a really poignant cutscene where you're nearly crying and then his beard suddenly morphs through his face and pops out of his ear?
Yeah, I think it does have potential for that to happen because it's not like the generic default character, isn't it? You are tinkering with it, and when you do that, it's like, oh, can the game cope and run that as well as it would with the default one? Or how it's been designed to play.
Well, they're known for their play testing, aren't they? So no doubt they've play tested all of this.
Well, hopefully. Another interesting fact about Valhalla this week was they've come out and said it only runs at 30 FPS, and that's apparently on PS5 and Xbox Series X. So that shows that there's going to be this big wave to start with of games that are cross-gen, and I think it holds back the next gen.
Always happens, always will.
It does, yeah, it does, yeah. And there's nothing we can do about that. But hopefully, I don't know, maybe they can patch and upgrade like Xbox have been talking about. So maybe
Valhalla
eventually...
is only coming out on next-gen platforms, so isn't it?
No, I think it's cross-gen. Sure it is. It would be very unlike them to not do that.
Well, it would cut off quite a large amount of buyers, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I can see why they do it. It takes a while for people to transition to the new gen consoles, mainly because of expense, especially at the minute. But in the downside of that, it does sometimes
How's
hold
your
it back.
fund going? How's your PlayStation or Xbox Series X fund going?
All it consists of is probably trading in the PS4 and everything I've got for it, and maybe a load of Switch games as well.
I tell you what, I'm so grateful I've been fortunate enough. Well, currently, as long as things stay as they are, I've been able to move past that. I've got a fund going now that could probably get me one, depending on how much the launch packages are.
Yeah, I think we're looking. There's been talk of current gen console prices being pretty much the same as the new one. I think it's going to be a little bit more, obviously, but
I think, was it not mentioned that the Pro models or the up-res model of the Xbox, the One X and the Pro's pricing would indicate where the new console pricing would be, and that would kind of go in line, I suppose, with the sort of upgrade model they're trying to work towards, like a mobile phone, etc.
Yeah, I hope we don't see too many upgrades because it gets very expensive for everyone, and it's not really called for. I prefer when a console lasted you a whole generation. It does give a bit more. It
still has, but if you're a little bit more of a pro player and you've got disposable income, does it hurt to get another couple of teraflops under the hood?
No, I suppose it can expand what people can do with
I don't want to see
what
one thing I'm a bit nervous of, and obviously we talked about it last episode, and as potentially we're waiting on some more confirmation from some of our secret sources. But if Xbox launches the next gen with a budget model and like a real extreme model, I know it's a nice way for people to get on board, but I think that would be unfortunate. I think halfway through a product's life, if you want to bring out a 0.5, I think that's been great. And I think the One X and to a lesser extent, the Pro have been worthy additions to the lineup. But
yeah, I mean, for me, I started with Xbox One, just the original base one. And then I went to the PS4. And at the time, I was like, well, I might as well go for the PS4 Pro because it had not been out that long.
What made you migrate from one brand to the next?
I think first party output. Xbox, obviously, they've got the ducks in a row now. I think they're going to come out fairly strong in next gen and have some good reveals for us. But it hurt them a bit, I think, those last 3 or 4 years of the Xbox One, just not outputting. I don't know. I just don't know what happened to. It was also PlayStation's doing of having so many great titles to wheel out. But obviously some of those we've seen go to PC, so it's not out the realms of possibility that they might even go to Xbox one day. But I think, yeah, the main reason was first party releases, and that will be the same for me with next gen. If they announce PS5 and Xbox One Series X, and you're not really getting much first party on launch, I do want to get one straight away because I never did last gen, and I kind of want to be there from day one. But if there's nothing that much to play, and there's other good titles available in that Christmas window for Switch and PS4, I'm going to think, well, I might just put my money to them.
Wow. Okay.
You often find with a new console launch that the older generation is wheeling out some really great games at the time, and
all you've got is Fantavision.
Yeah. No. Exactly. Like
and Summoner and
you've got. I mean,
Xbox original and 360. I thought both. Some would argue, but I think they both nailed their launches. Xbox original came out the gates with Halo, which was like, oh, that's game changing. And Project Gotham, which admittedly is a high-res Metropolis street racer, but I was leaving Dreamcast. I was leaving Dreamcast to migrate to Xbox, and that's some of the titles I wanted to pick up. 360 launch, arguably the best launch lineup ever.
Yeah, I think they're going to look at that, especially with Xbox, and I reckon we'll see a Forza Motorsport of some description, and we'll obviously see Halo Infinite. Maybe one more thing, maybe something else from Rare, or maybe a sort of third-person adventure game. I feel like they need to get those three bases covered: FPS, action adventure, driving, some type of driving game. I think when you have that at launch, it's just such a great variation. And the best console launches I've had those sort of choices.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the worst have just had nothing, basically. I mean, one game can carry a launch, and we've seen that numerous times. But I don't know. What do you think we're going to see from PS5? Just while we're on the subject.
Oh, I don't know at the moment. I mean, it's hard to tell, isn't it? I mean, we've seen obviously Naughty Dog's going last. Sucker Punch is going last on this console, so they're going to be on hiatus for however long it takes to make an 8K game. So that's going to be 2 or 3 years, bare minimum. I mean, Sony Bend, they've recently slapped out Days Gone, so are they going to be ready to step up for PS5 content straight out the bag? Probably not.
I think the rumours are like the likely ones are maybe a Horizon Zero Dawn sequel.
Or maybe Ratchet, a Killzone as an alternative.
Yeah, that's true. It's going to be going up against Halo, though, isn't it? And
there's also meant to be the rumoured Spider-Man. I mean, that was a good game, but is it a system seller?
Well, I think so. To be fair, when I speak to a lot of people who have Xbox, and they're like, "Oh, I really wish I had a PS4 for Spider-Man." It's a lot of fun. I think that would sell consoles easily.
Wow. Okay.
Talking
of exclusives, sliced and diced. Sony delivered 18 minutes of, let's face it, gorgeous-looking Ghost of Tsushima gameplay via its latest state of play this week. It looked very interesting, I would say, Tom. The open world project from Sucker Punch. Here are the key takeaways that we noticed from the stream. Ghost of Tsushima's gameplay has been hiding in tall grass for quite some time. But one detail that was getting a lot of attention was the lack of waypoints.
Yeah.
The game's adopting a it's a very minimalistic HUD. And there are flourishes in the world that will direct your attention. You know, you can mark points in the map. No longer will there be a waypoint, but a gust of wind to guide you to them. And you can call on that wind at any time to make sure you're heading in the right direction, which seems less intrusive than propping up a map. And then
I think that's a great, I think that's a great idea.
As you're exploring, nature will capture your attention. Smoke on the horizon will lead you towards campfires. Birds will signal collectibles. Even animals such as foxes are going to appear, which we saw in the trailer, and direct you to important destinations, ensuring that you absorb as much of Tsushima as possible without having to deal with, as I've done recently, Tom, a million icons such as in a game such as Assassin's Creed.
It does become very intrusive, doesn't it? Sorry.
You're all good. It's been alluded to in the past. Ghost of Tsushima's combat is split into 2 distinct paths. Here's my one. Jin starts the game as a capable samurai warrior, honouring the traditional way of the katana. However, the events of the game cause him to adopt a ghostly persona using new techniques that go against his training, but allow him to strike from the shadows. That's your play style. We've had a good look at both styles in the state of play. So let's think about how they're going to work. You can approach enemies as a samurai. Jin can initiate a standoff. This begins a sequence in which you and an enemy square up to each other to see who twitches first. Playing in this way, it all seems like your strikes are very deadly, as Jin is able to take down enemies with a single swipe of his blade. Brutal, but efficient and fast. He moves into the Mongol encampment. We see him fighting outside of this standoff sequence, and it puts you in the mind of... and I have to admit, it did seem to liken itself to Sekiro, with the parries and the blows and the sort of selecting the right stances. We saw them shift stance at least more than once to select different enemies. And there seemed to be in that camp, there seemed to be a mixture between light enemies and brutes, and switching up that stance definitely brought out a different play style and result. Or, as in the name's title, Tom, you can become the elusive ghost. which sees Jin adopt his alter ego. The game combat is far more stealth-based. And this is where I was a little bit, having played so much Assassin's Creed, and instead of seeing that game as a game now, I just see it as a series of mechanics nailed together. When I saw the firecrackers and the smoke bombs, I have to admit my heart sagged a little bit. I'll be absolutely honest. It also showed that Jin can clamber onto rooftops and take down Mongols from above. Also had access to a bow, which seemed to be most inspired by Horizon Zero Dawn. The two styles are obviously very different, and it's unclear exactly how much freedom you'll have by judging the customization options. It sounds like you'll be able to make your own Jin, combine that with different styles in different areas, and it seems as though you'll be able to tackle combat scenarios as you like. One thing's for sure, you wouldn't want to see either of Jin's fighting styles in person. I think he'd hack
Definitely
and slash
not.
you up in a heartbeat. Before we go deeper into that, I've said this before. I'm excited. I'm probably more excited for Ghost of Tsushima than Last of Us 2. But I am terrified that it's one open world game. Now, I know it's a very artsy take. You know, we've got black and white options. We've got Japanese soundtrack, which, you know, I like the Japanese soundtracks, being a Yakuza and Shenmue man and all that. So I like to hear that. I think it adds credence. But the open world game, traditionally in this Ubi style, and we saw PlayStation Studios have a go with Horizon Zero Dawn. And when I saw him like picking up bamboo just by walking past it for crafting and honouring temples to get special amulets to upgrade X or Y power in his inventory, I was thinking, as much as I was excited, I did think the internet got a little bit too slathery over what looks like a very polished Assassin's Creed.
I would agree with some of that, not all of that. I think you raised some really good points there about claiming the materials. I think the difference maker with a game like Red Dead Redemption and an Assassin's Creed, even though they're big open world games, is that level of immersion and detail within how you do your just daily things or just random small details in going about the map. So when you go over to something and it just automatically picks it up, it just takes you out of it a little bit.
Agreed.
I know we're very much like, we like it to be more of a life sim in a way that you have to go and forage those and actually cut them with your sword or small knife or something, whatever they would use, because you feel like you learn it. You're doing something as the character rather than just. I just hope it's not running around.
Why go to all the extent of a Japanese soundtrack or voice or sound over, as you would call it, okay, and a black and white grainy filter for him to just absorb bamboo by walking within an inch of it?
Yeah, I think you've got to remember a lot of people don't like to play to the level of detail that sometimes. Think how many people turn Red Dead off because it was so slow. I think they're worried they've got to get that balance right. I think a lot of this game hinges on its story, as if it's good or not. I think the combat will be fairly solid. Looking at it,
the story's got me gripped. There's no two ways about that. I do like Japanese history.
But how do you feel about, like, obviously you've got that realistic history about this invasion of Tsushima, yet then you've got animals leading you to places and sort of a little bit of a more mystical element to the game.
That's a solid point, well made. I don't know. I mean, I like the fact there's going to be no menu and you're not going. There's not going to be a map per se that you're going in and you're dropping a waypoint there and it kind of draws a line on a map that's on the screen. It seems like they've took 10 steps forward and they took 10 steps back. You know, it's a bit strange, isn't it?
I mean, there's a lot there in the 18 minutes, but also this is probably going to be a massive game, so maybe we've not seen a lot I hope the map is quiet, but also enough there to be interesting. I want to go think, I can see that on the horizon. I'm going to go over there. There's a point in the trailer where we saw him with like some flute, Japanese flute or something on the top of the mountain. And I was like, is there going to be like music to the game? Can we just sit there chilling and play music? It's all those little details that will make a game go from an 8 to a 10. I'd say if we want to use the number scale, I think it's how everything adds up to make it a far more detailed experience. I think that's where sometimes, no disrespect to the newer Assassin's Creed, but from what I've seen, it's just missing that next level of detail, which is, I think, down to time constraints and stuff. I'm sure there's stuff they'd love to put in, but we are very biased to Red Dead here, and it's not without its faults, but just I'd love to see that same amount of detail in Ghost of Tsushima. From what I've seen so far, it's looking promising, but like you say, there's some other things that just sort of in the trailer were a bit like, oh, that's a bit odd. It's an odd choice for it to do that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be closer to Assassin's Creed Samurai than it is going to be to a Red Dead. And I think if you look at a game like Horizon Zero Dawn, or even to a lesser extent Days Gone, I think that's what we're going to get.
Someone raised I can't remember where it might have been on an internet post or something the other day. I saw a really good thing of, if next gen's going to be this really flashy graphics, yet the character is holding a weapon and then just laying it on their back and there's no straps or any holster or anything like that. It's just stuff like that actually makes next gen. They're the things that make it important. If it can look amazing, but then it just completely takes you out of it by a character just resting or holstering a gun on the side of their body with no way of holding it. It's like, why? That just looks so ridiculous. I know it's a tiny thing to pick up on, but I think that's going to be okay in Ghost from looking at it. I think that's quite detailed. There's a bit where he's bent down, he's been walking through obviously got a lot of mud on him, and you can see all the particles of mud on his sort of samurai uniform. I thought looked nice. It's just things like that I like, and that's personal opinion.
Well, you talk of weapons in the world. You can upgrade Jin's weapons. You can customise his look with armour pieces, decals and colour schemes. You have to change the colour of individual garments, as well as completely overhaul your appearance with different items. That can be done by collecting dye flowers around the world, which again you kind of absorb as you walk near. Allows you to give you a piece of armour a palette swap. You'll also be able to collect the aforementioned charms we talked about, which have a more dramatic effect on Jin. Omimori charms can be collected out in the open world, and when equipped, give your character a special boost. The charm of Okanushi gives you the ability to recover health slowly outside of combat, while the charm of Unseen Respite has smoke bombs restore 25% of your health.
Huh.
You see, that's a bit Assassin's Creed Unity, isn't it? Again, I'm not here to beat this game up, so don't get on the flame at me, but in my mind's eye, I kind of expected more of a Red Dead Samurai game here when they talked about detail and love of Japanese film and cinema and history. I did expect a little bit more Red Dead Samurai than Assassin's Creed Horizon Zero Dawn Samurai, which is making me nervous.
I think it'll be okay. I'm still holding out high hopes for it. I think
imagine a game like Tenchu.
The whole look of the game.
You know, I was thinking this would be more like a Tenchu style, like uber realistic. I know they can't do a Sekiro because it's not for everybody. If they'd have made an open world From Software game, they'd have got absolutely owned, because that's not what Sucker Punch are about. But
it's like it's on a weird balance of realism but fantasy from what we've seen so far. I think it's probably higher towards the percentage of realism. But we've got to remember they've got to make it fun, and there's not a lot of like casual market going to think I'm going to get a historically accurate game, because I think
what
a lot
part
of
of
people
that casual market's going to go, I think the casual market are going to be drawn by the graphics in the first instance because it does look beautiful. I will give them that.
I know when I started the stream, it was obviously having some problems, and I loaded it. And the biggest downside of this coming out on, I think it was Thursday, was the day before you'd had that Unreal Engine, which we're going to get to in the news. It kind of took a little bit of shine off this, even though it's a fantastic looking game for this generation. I mean, it's phenomenal, especially if it's a reasonably sized open world. It's very impressive with the colours. As for, I think we've got to get to that, haven't we, as to how you can play the different game. But we'll quickly just go back to
it's obviously
two different.
As we saw, no, I'll just round this one out if you like. As we saw, there was a photo mode, Sucker Punch being the alleged innovator of photo modes. There's no surprise there. The feature returning Ghost of Tsushima. In addition to shutter speeds and filters, you can set up wind direction, particle effects, change the atmosphere for your portraits. You can even add soundtracks to make short sort of GIFs, I presume, or little 20-second clip videos. And as this is a game, you'll want to photograph as it looks, as we discussed. I mean, graphically, it's a real sayonara. See what I did there? To the PlayStation 4. But as we touched on at the start of this little piece, you can play the game entirely in black and white with film grain. And you can also unlock a Japanese dialogue as well, which that's nice. I don't know if anyone's going to play it in black and white. First playthrough. But
I think...
what do you think about that?
The options to do, or the various options have got a fantastic, and they should be praised for doing that, because a lot don't, and it's going to be very interesting to see how people play it. For me, I'm going to go through, if you're saying Samurai and Ghost are two different play styles altogether, I think personally you're going to be able to mix and match them as you want to.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they're going to be separate, but if they were, I'd go with the Ghost, because I feel like that's maybe the way they want you to play it first. Although you'd think that's harder, but we don't know yet. I'd go with that, English dialogue and colour. But then that's such a great thing. You're going to be able to play it in black and white with Japanese voiceover in a completely different sort of play style, combat-wise. It's just like, that's a really good reason to do another playthrough. A lot of big open world games, I get to the end and I'm like, that was one of the best games I've played, but I'm not going to play it again.
Yeah, there is a feeling of being exhausted by that world, isn't there? You can't, towards the end game, instead of like going slowly on the horse and moseying around and checking out all the little details, you're just whipping the living daylights out the pony to get from A to B as quick as you can.
I think for me, like the majority of Red Dead, I did actually try and take it all in, and I did do that. When you get like around the 50, 60 hour mark of a game, though, you are literally, like you say, I've got to get to this point to just progress the story, because that's the problem where the narrative overtakes the gameplay, because you just want to know what happens so much, like a turn of a page in a book, that you just really want to know what happens, so you ignore so much of that world. And it's quite sad, really, that you might have got to a new area and you're just completely blanking it with the blinkers on and just looking at the story element of the game.
Yeah.
So I think, it must be hard as a developer to keep people focused on both.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've got high hopes for this and I'm really excited. That's two great titles coming to PS4 to sort of swan song it, Last of Us Part 2 and Ghost of Tsushima. So yeah, really looking forward to that one.
Okay, well, next up, Tom, this... I mean,
I to read this one out?
Yeah, I thought this was dead and buried, but yeah, off you go.
Ahoy, not there. Skull and Bones was announced at Ubisoft's E3 2017 press conference. Can't believe that was that long ago.
I know.
I know. We've seen absolutely nothing of the game for nearly 2 years. Will it come out at some point in the future? Probably not. And you won't be seeing it around the launch of the PlayStation 5 either. That's because the French publisher that has just confirmed its lineup for the next fiscal year, and Skull and Bones isn't part of it. The games you can look forward to from Ubisoft between now and 31st of March 2021 are Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Watch Dogs Legion, Rainbow Six Quarantine, Gods and Monsters, and one more currently unannounced AAA title. That will most likely be a new Far Cry game. That's strongly rumoured. According to Jason Schreier, where does this leave Skull and Bones? Well, probably dead and buried. The game's last update came via a Twitter post in May 2019 when it was announced a delay. The account has remained silent since then. Can we say that Skull and Bones has been cancelled? Not officially, but we'd be surprised to see it ever released at this point. That's
there was a lot of hype. I think that there was, let's face it, at the time, there was a great big bandwagon rolling through town for pirates, all things pirates, for all things Assassin's Creed Black Flag. And it still had momentum and people were still slathering. You know, having not played Black Flag at the time of launch and gone back, I can see why people who'd never played Sid Meier's Pirates were like, oh, combat's amazing. The combat was not amazing. The combat was glitchy. It was unrealistic. It was arcadey. But if you want to build a whole game and an online multiplayer game around that ship combat, I think Ubisoft knocked over the air freshener and got a little bit, forgot to open the door, Tom, because Skull and Bones, I mean, X marks the spot, bury it in the ground and forget it was ever made. I don't know. I mean, I was lukewarm when it was announced in the first place because I didn't get the fever dream of Assassin's Creed Black Flag when it first came out. I was like, nah. But you see, you know what I'm like. I don't want Skull and Bones. I want
you want Navy Simulator, don't you? Royal Navy Simulator.
But one where, let's say, you could pick two paths. You could either be an officer, so you go down the route of learning how to command the whole ship, and that doesn't mean steering it, because no officer ever steered a Royal Naval ship in his life. But, using a map system, a little bit like...
You're virgin on revealing your Ghost podcast anyway, so I think your historical knowledge needs to be... You need to play it down on here.
There's two podcasts in the works.
Oh, is there?
There's a gaming one that you don't know about.
Okay.
Until now, and there's also my history one that's going to piggyback off of. Well, I can't really piggyback off of this show. I'd have to piggyback off the other show, but
quite the scoundrel.
Yeah, like Sea of Thieves, you use the map and then you pick a destination, you steer. It would be good if you were able to pick points and you say, okay, steer us to there. Then you could walk the deck as the officer and initiate like firing training. So, you get everyone manning the cannons, and the more you actually put people through the training means whether you can or they knock a second off their reload time, if that makes sense. Or if you're too harsh and you do too much training in one day, words of mutiny start to spread. When I played Assassin's Creed 3 for the first time, without raving on about that seemingly on every episode, the interaction that you had as Haytham Kenway on board the ship was far more interesting to me, being able to go below and see the crew, and was so better executed than it was when you did the missions, the sort of pirate Navy missions in Assassin's Creed 3 later, and then also Assassin's Creed Black Flag. You had a whole ship with the crew, you knew none of them, and you would have known them all intimately. You couldn't go below decks. You couldn't see the upgraded crew areas that you'd just slaved over getting all the materials for to get. That just meant that you had extra space to store men that were just a resource in the end.
Again, this is the level of detail, isn't it? We've been talking about how it elevates certain games to like masterpieces of the current time.
Yeah, and I think they're done well and things are explained and it's believable, it doesn't matter if you're a casual gamer and you get sucked into a really deep game like that, because not only does it have great gameplay mechanics, but it also makes you learn a little bit more about the time, and you're like, did that really happen? And then you go off and go on the internet, you're like, oh my goodness gracious me, I didn't know that actually happened. That just sounds something fantastical they've put in a game, but now I know that happened. It's like, that's unbelievable.
Actually, it's quite a good point to just raise here, that the way you're talking about how you like to interact with a game, and if it makes you then go down a route of looking into its history or the time it's set in and so forth. I was speaking to a work colleague and he was talking about his young lad, and he was sort of saying, yeah, he just likes shooting and blowing things up. With like, he tried Ace Combat and just didn't like it because he'd gone from like something like Modern Warfare to playing Ace Combat, and he was just like, well, you need the right missiles, or you're not meant to be shooting those other planes down there on your team, or you're escorting that thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where I think this is the problem developers have, is they're developing, trying to make a game seem really fun and pick up and play and arcadey in a way. But also there's those fans, you have like this 50-50 divide of people who like yourself want to learn something from it, and there's nothing wrong or right in either one. They're just two different markets, and it's I think that's why we get like these cult classic games sometimes, because they can be really mega detailed, but to another person, and look, they're really boring.
Yeah.
So I think that's my take on Assassin's Creed, when you mention it like that, is it's trying to help sell to both.
Games do get measured on time to action, don't they? So from when you're putting the console, turning the console or PC on, putting the game in, and how soon before you're actually pressing buttons is a metric that some critics use to either rubbish a game or say it's amazing.
Look at some of the Metal Gears and Kojima's games. Like, some of them just so long-winded to get to any actual gameplay.
Yeah,
that a lot of gamers just don't like them because they're just very long-winded and bloated twaddle, really.
So maybe I'm that kind of gamer. Maybe I now identify, because I think it was generally well received, was Death Stranding. But for me, that forced its way quite wholeheartedly into my top 10 games.
Really?
Oh, what a great game.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah, well, there we go. I mean, at the same time, Assassin's Creed 3's forced its way onto the top 10 best games of my life. So, for all different reasons. We'll move on.
Do you want me to kick off?
I'll put my teeth in for this time. Next time you grass, you'll be sleeping with the fishes, Microsoft. Microsoft's just leaked. Microsoft Store has leaked Mafia Definitive Edition ahead of the announcement on the 19th of May. According to the game's page, it's set to launch on the 28th of August, but the release date isn't the only thing we can pull from this. Indeed, the big story here is that Mafia Definitive Edition isn't just a remaster. It looks to be a full remake of the game, running on a new engine complete with brand new assets, even as an expanded story. Now, this looks good to me. I've not played any of the Mafias, so this next bit of news, I don't know whether to start playing it next week or whether I should wait for. And I think they're going to divide their fan base here. Mafia 2 Definitive Edition comes to PS4 and Xbox next week on the same day. This unveiling was supposed to take place. That's annoying, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's Tuesday, the 19th of May 2020. It'll include the base game and all DLC. It appears to be a remaster rather than the full remake treatment that Mafia Definitive Edition is getting. You'll have to wait until August to play the first one, although it does look pretty incredible. So,
such a
scheduled to
choice.
Go out on the 19th of May and go, boom, we're doing a trilogy, remastered or within reason remade, but we're going to remake the first one and we're going to remaster the others, and you're going to be able to get Mafia 1, 2 and 3. An epic saga that's obviously inspired by Godfather, but spans an interesting period of American history. And
I don't know whether the third ties into 1 and 2. There's maybe spoilers there, so we won't discuss it much. But it's very strange that they're having like the full remake of the first one come after this sort of.
Well, it kind of, to me, being the sort of gamer that I am, Mafia 2's launching on the 19th of May. Will I get it? Oh, I don't know. I might wait until the 28th of August. and buy a physical edition of all three.
Yeah, that would be me personally.
But I'm quite intrigued to have a go at Mafia 2. But
just to see if you like it.
That Mafia Definitive Edition, that remake, basically, that looks incredible, and it looks very much a piece of me.
Yeah, it looks
LA Noire vibes all over it, doesn't it?
It definitely does. Yeah, it would. It could go to show what a remake of that could look like as well. It looks very high detail.
As well, you're releasing 3 big games in August. I don't have Mafia on PS2, actually. I think it was a PS2 and PC game, wasn't it, Mafia 1?
Yeah, it was,
I'll check the catalogue. I'll see if we've got it. I might pull it out and give my opinion on it if I do. I certainly won't be playing The Godfather, although I think I might have that. First bit of... we've interwoven people's thoughts on the news this week into the bumper news edition that we're rocking out. Chronicles of a Gamer, I'm excited for the new Mafia. Well, I call him by his mortal name. We know Chronicles of a Gamer as God, or Bobby, but we'll call him God. I'm excited for new Mafia Trilogy remake. It's much like Resident Evil remakes, as they were built from the ground up. If you haven't played the original, then this is your chance. The first 2 were damn near perfect. 3 was good, but gameplay-wise, it was a disaster. That's all I know in the gaming news world, lol. Well, you're God, so you know more than you're letting on, but he's playing it cool as always. Tom.
The great Oracle Divine being, that is.
Yeah, well, if
Bobby,
can you fly, Bobby boy? This has survived Series 1, and it's a staple. You ready? New listener. We pick them up just for the clap. Batmull. What's he got to say, Tom?
The Tony Hawk's and Mafia ones look good because I've never had the chance to play either originals, but also thought it was quite funny seeing the Epic Store crash within moments of them making GTA 5 free this week. He's been on the pulse, hasn't he, old Batmull? New listener. Thanks for the comment.
He's down to the ground, sucking it all up, isn't he?
I did notice with the GTA 5 free purchase on the Epic Store, I thought that was generous. And there's still people out there who I would personally pick that up again because I haven't got it on the platforms I'm playing on. But sometimes I just love to just blast around the city and trying out the different vehicles and maybe dabble a bit on the online again. It's a great game, isn't it? And
I've not played it. I think I've played like 2 hours of it, and I don't know why. I just didn't vibe with it.
You've never played the campaign?
2 hours of the campaign I've played.
Yeah, it's not as memorable.
It didn't feel like 4, so I didn't like it. I'll be honest. 4 to me just made me so happy, and I still love that game.
I think they tried something new with the 3 protagonists. It's a really cool idea, but I don't think it overall. It just felt a bit weak compared to the other stories of even Vice City. Was sort of stronger, I think, even though it's a lot older game.
Well, let's park that. Thank you for reaching out to us, Batmull. It's always nice to hear a new voice in the ether. So, and we've had quite a lot of new voices recently, but we're seeing a return to some of the more regular
staple
contributors this week. Yeah, the stable mates. Seeing is believing. Next bit of news, Tom. I think this is probably the most. Yeah, it's the most exciting bit of news I think we've had.
Yeah, I think so. Well, this week's big reveal is actually the unveiling of the Unreal Engine 5 from Epic Games. The above video gives us our first real in-depth look at what the PlayStation 5 is capable of as the Unreal Engine 5 tech demo is running in real time on Sony's next generation console. The demo is called Lumen in the Land of the Nanite, and needless to say, it's very impressive. Again, the whole thing is running in real time on PS5. Footage is in-game, being played by someone with a controller, and it's not pre-rendered. While the company's up-and-coming Unreal Engine 5 will naturally be compatible with multiple formats, including, of course, PlayStation 4, the firm has really been talking up the design of Sony's next-gen system. It has an immense amount of GPU power, but also multi-order bandwidth, increase its storage management. Being the boss Tim Sweeney, as reported by The Verge, that's going to be absolutely critical. The executive added that it's one thing to render everything that can fit in memory, but a different proposition entirely to render a world that may be tens of gigabytes in size instantaneously. Obviously, it's that the oft-discussed PS5's SSD that's putting in the work. We've been working super close with Sony for quite a long time on storage. Sweeney continued, the storage architecture on the PS5 is far ahead of anything you can buy on anything on PC for any amount of money right now. It's going to help drive future PCs. The PC market is going to see this thing ship and say, oh, wow, SSDs are going to need to catch up with this.
Obviously, there's a couple of takeaways there. Unreal 5 engine's going to be a staple of many, many games coming out on Xbox One Series X or Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5. And they said it's scalable as well. So no doubt Switch is going to be running it to some extent. And so is its successor.
Yeah, they're going to definitely be trying to get that some form of it running on the Switch because it's going to otherwise fall sadly behind.
And it was nice. I mean, last week we had the Xbox reveal of some gameplay stuff that's coming out, and that all looked to be cross-party stuff, didn't it? Or cross-platform stuff.
I think that was really unfairly treated on its arrival. I think people just, as usual, classic people browsing the internet, they just don't read the full thing. They just see next gen. They're thinking they're going to see Halo, Fable, Rare Game, Project Gotham, not Forza. Who knows? We might see Project Gotham. That'd be good. But you know what I'm saying? Like they've just not read that. It was clearly stated this is going to be like multi-format, third-party stuff. So in your head, if you know anything, you're going to think, well, a lot of that's going to be cross-gen as well. Mm. So I went in with quite low expectations with that, and I thought it was put together really well. I think what they showed was a good mixture, and I think it was just a bit daft to maybe have people's expectations ramped up.
But this was this Unreal 5 engine.
Yeah, this is what
demo is kind of what I thought. Oh right, okay, thank goodness. This is we've seen the stuff that people are going to be getting day one, like Watch Dogs, which they've bought on their Xbox One and or Xbox 360. Then they're getting on their Xbox One and PS3 and PS4, and there's an upgrade there for sure, but it's not massive. But what are the next gen systems going to be capable of at the midpoint to end point of their lives? Unreal Engine 5 probably showing us that this is what next gen's about. And it's like, oh, right, okay, now I can get my head around where we're going.
Definitely. It looked phenomenal. The lighting, the textures of that sort of rubble and stone of the
I actually thought
the cave.
The first half of it in the cave looked better than the second half of it. Where, I mean, I know people like Digital Foundry have probably got their calculators out and they go, George, you're well out of line. That bit with the statues is incredible. It's unbelievable. But
I think
I could attach more to the realism of that cave and the stone and the lighting in that more realistic environment than I could to the one in the temple.
I think the temple gets borderline like fantasy and you can tell it's a video game design world. When you're in the cave, you're like, that looks like it could be in Egypt or somewhere.
It felt more grounded, didn't it?
It did, yeah. I think that pushed home. I think that was the right way to start the demo.
Yeah.
I think it made you realise and think, wow, that's going to be
and the flying bit at the end, as incredible as it was to see so many polygons rushing towards the screen and all that sort of stuff, it was a bit like, you're not doing the best here to sell it to me because, well, there were in the temple. I did think to myself, well, that's not really too far away from what we might have seen this gen from something like Uncharted 4.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that first part of the tech demo is very Tomb Raider, Uncharted, and it gets your brain racing as to what the potential of.
On that note, I didn't think much to the actual effort they'd put into the character model. No, that was like
Well, during my time as a games developer on Dreams, I found it very difficult to do. I think character models are always difficult. You're dealing with like,
yeah, that's fair enough.
In the same way, a landscape I think is way easier to paint than a portrait of a person. I think it's harder to get that realism of a human being. I don't think they were going for full realism anywhere there.
Yeah, but the environment they were, I'd rather have not seen from the back. It was fine. You weren't looking at the character, but when they actually showed it at the end, I was like, oh God, no, it looks like a car crash.
Yeah.
It looked a little bit like Beyond Good and Evil for the face.
Yeah.
But the photorealism of the rocks, the interaction of the physics of the rocks came tumbling down, the light through the top of the cave, no complaints from me at all. It looks incredible. Some of the more fantastical stuff, I'm glad they showed it in a grounded, realistic way. If we were going around a space station, I think it'd been very hard to understand what was happening.
Yeah. I think so.
Thoughts on that? I mean, there's a lot of noise there at the end from that guy talking about how it's the SSDs and that's going to change everything. Are they the game changer that's going to equal the teraflops fight, or are we? What's going on here? We don't know anymore. It's Sony being very cagey.
Yeah, there's a lot of tech spiel, isn't there? And I don't pretend to know anything about that, and I don't really take much notice of it. I think they're both going to be really powerful machines, and I'm just happy to see progressive technology and just advancing what can already be done, and making it even better. So I don't know. I can't say much on that. I think it's great for people in the industry because they'll know what it means. And I don't know. Imagine you're an artist and you're given a new medium to create something in, like a new material. It's like being given that, isn't it? It's exciting for them to think. Oh yeah, no
doubt.
Now I can do that. We can do this, and on it rolls to sort of snowball into even better ideas. So that's the exciting thing. I think it's great for the developers to have new tools to work with.
Well, we've got someone here, as always, with an opinion on that, and it's Comic Pictures 79. I think you might have a new name on Instagram, but either which way, I'm sure if you type in Comic Pictures on Etsy, you can get some Series 1 merch. We're yet to quite decide what we're doing with Series 2, and also best comment every month wins not just an official controller, but anything from Adam's shop, courtesy of us. She's very generous, Tom. Very nice reward for someone writing in with their opinion to a games news show, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
How would they? Before we give Adam the artist his time in the dock, how would they interact with the show and/or get their comment on the show?
You can direct messages, as a lot of you do, on Instagram and Twitter. We always put out a post on Instagram to let you guys know what the weekly feature is going to be. Obviously, this week it was like a bumper news edition. You can also email us at questions@unofficialcontrollerpodcast.com. You can also get involved on our Discord, which, if you go through the Instagram page, is a link tree. Follow the link to the Discord. There's loads of great people on there. Some great opinions and voices on video gaming, who also provide a lot of great content. So please come and join the Discord and get involved. It's always great to have new people in there and new opinions. So yeah, please get in touch and stand the chance of winning a great prize every month.
Let's whirl in Comic Pictures 79, as the artist formerly known as. He says, my takeaway was everyone was losing their minds over the Unreal 5 tech demo, but I remember everyone being exactly the same at the Unreal 4 tech demo. It's a tech demo. Don't expect games to look like that till mid-gen. Still, it's at least a very good indicator of exciting times ahead. There's also a lot of talk about pricing, which appears to be in a very good place. perhaps being the same as current Pro consoles, which we've talked about. In light of everyone's collective financial woes, that seems to be the right price and the right thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I wonder actually whether Microsoft and Sony have gone away and looked at the current financial situation, thought we potentially could sell less consoles if we sell it more expensive. They might think we'll take a bit of a loss on manufacturing and wheel it out a bit cheaper.
They make their money. PlayStation 4, I think, has had one of the best attach rates, which is, i.e., what's the average number of games that someone owns for that system?
Yeah.
And the PS4's attach rate is apparently, one of the best ever. I think people have got at least 10 titles for every PlayStation.
I'd say probably in the average, yeah.
So we know that historically the console manufacturers would lose money. I think PS3 was the console that lost the most amount of money on launch. So in a way, they're probably quite happy they weren't too successful out the gates because they were hemorrhaging money left, right, and Chelsea. I suppose it's worth selling a console at a loss if you think you're going to get a decent attach rate. But that attach rate needs to be 5+, I think, for the maths to work. So you got to get the console out there to get the attach rate up, and they make their money on the game sales and licensing of the games. So it's an interesting time, isn't it?
Yeah, it certainly is. I hope Comic Pictures is right, and we do see that sort of strong price point. I think that'll hopefully drive people to take the leap. But there's lots of options available now, isn't there? Like, we're quite lucky we can trade stuff in against it or spread the cost and various things. So, yeah, fingers crossed everyone gets to jump on board next gen.
Some exciting news. Once again, we're having some swan songs on the PS4 and Xbox One. Birdman takes flight. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1+2 are skating back onto Xbox and PS4 for their glorious return. Following a curious leak, just moments before the official announcement, Activision has confirmed the original two games are being given the remake treatment on current gen platforms. You should also check out the trailer. That trailer looks great, Tom. I don't know if you've seen it or not.
Yes. Yeah. I think...
night and day to the original PS1 game, isn't it?
It's a big leap, isn't it? I think
as with all the things we've talked about this episode, I think everyone's just got to go away. That Unreal 5 engine you mentioned they should go have a look at, and I agree. This they need to go have a look at. The Mafia stuff they need to go and have a look at, if it's stills or whatever.
If you're a PlayStation owner, please go look at Ghosts of Tsushima if you've not looked at that already.
Yeah, that's especially. I tried to watch it not long after. I didn't watch it live, that Ghosts, but I did watch it after the point. Obviously,
I think sometimes you're better watching that delayed one because the live stream sometimes, depending on your internet connection.
Well, the recording of the live stream I saw was totally tessellated and blocky, and it was like, I listened to the words, but I didn't really look at the picture. Anyway, we get distracted. The announcement of Tony Hawk's was part of Jeff Keighley's Summer Games Fest. The trailer states the games will feature 4K, PS4 Pro, Xbox, compacting all the original locations, characters, and modes. In addition, they'll feature multiplayer, letting you skate with your buddies. Fortunately, there isn't long to wait until we can play this ourselves as it launches 4th of September 2020.
Yeah, it's good to see a lot of these announcements are coming. We've got another bit of news that's got quite a up-and-coming release date. It's nice to see them actually announcing dropping titles and the release date not being far away. It's nothing worse than seeing something you think, wow, that looks amazing, then realising, it's not out for like a year and a half. So, credit to them with that. It's great to see Tony Hawk coming back, and maybe we'll see more of those games if it does
We've got a couple of long-term supporters of the show. Roast Space Monk, he's excited. Tony Hawk's 1 and 2 remake, still play them to this day. So a modern remake suits me perfectly. Also, Mafia 1 and 2. First Mafia game is a classic. Very excited for that. Also, as a bonus, I tell you what, Alan Wake.
Yeah, I saw this.
Into Games Pass, May 21st, celebrate the 10th anniversary. If anything was going to make me get Game Pass, it would be Alan Wake. I I mean, that might make me buy a 360 and a special edition of Alan Wake, maybe. He says he's excited for that, as I love that game. Do you want to take
We've got Retro Gamer Thomas next, long-term listener, so hope you're having a good day. I love the Tony Hawk's announcement, and I've already pre-ordered the special edition as a fantastic memories of me and my old flatmate taking it in turns on runs till the early hours trying to complete those games. And I did actually enjoy the Unreal Engine reveal. I know they probably won't look like that to start with, but it's nice to see what the PS5 is capable of. Ideally, it's all about the games, but it's nice to know what they could look like, and that's impressive. Also, Dirt 5.
Gamer Thomas.
Yeah, well said. Also, Dirt 5 looks very exciting as it's heading back to the early Dirt games rather than the later, more sim-based edition. It's going to be great fun on a wheel. Just hope mine's compatible. Laughing emoji.
Okay. Laughing till he cries emoji, little scoundrel. Yeah, thank you for that. Retro Gamer Thomas and Roast Space Monk. Unfolding another Switch title, Tom. Well, that's a fantastic and completely out of the blue surprise. I never saw this one come in. Neither did you. Neither did most people. Nintendo has revealed Paper Mario the Origami King for the Nintendo Switch. The latest game in the Paper Mario series sees the Princess Peach welcoming Mario and Luigi to the kingdom's Origami Festival. Things don't sound quite as peachy as they might have hoped, though, and as you can see in the brand new trailer that's out there, it seems as if King Ollie, who claims to be the ruler of the Origami Kingdom, has hatched a devious plot that endangers everything Mario holds dear. Here's some PR that we've got our grubby mitts on to tell us all about it. Mario faces one of the most thrilling challenges yet in Paper Mario the Origami King, when the dangerous King Ollie unleashes his plan to fold the entire world. It's very Inception, isn't it? Just when matters couldn't get worse, he's bound Princess Peach's castle in a giant coloured streamers and transported it to a distant mountain. He's even transformed Bowser's minions into folded soldiers and enlisted them in his treacherous cause. Luckily, Mario's equipped with a range of new tools at his disposal to make sure help secure victory. One of Mario's new abilities, called 100 Fold Arms, allows you to interact with the landscape by stretching out and pulling, peeling and revealing new locations. It all sounds very tearaway to me, helping you to solve puzzles and uncover unexpected surprises along the way. You'll enlist the help of characters old and new, such as King Ollie's good-natured sister Olivia, along with a range of unlikely allies, including Bowser himself. If they haven't yet folded to the whims of King Ollie's origami will, Mario will accept all the help he can find with open arms. Paper Mario the Origami King also introduces a new ring battle system that lets you flex your puzzle-solving skills to line up scattered enemies and maximize damage. While the enemies may be crafted from paper, these dynamic turn-based crafted battles are from stationery. It require a sharp mind to make short work of these crafty enemies. The game will be launching exclusively on Switch 17th of July for $59.99 or pounds or euros or whichever way Nintendo know how to charge in both digital and physical forms. You should find the game available to pre-purchase in the eShop, Tom. Can you confirm that? Have you been on the Switch, or is it just your coaster for your PlayStation?
Funnily enough, my Switch is with my brother at the minute. I've lent it out to him for a while because I've just not been using it. And we'll just go into that a little bit because this year they've had like Animal Crossing and then there's this. And I feel like I'm in that demographic Nintendo fan group of like, I like my Mario, like my Zelda, like my Metroid, like Smash and Mario Kart. Some of their other titles are very, very niche to me. I think, well, I say niche, Animal Crossing selling millions of copies, but there's just a lot of their games that I actually just can't get into. And I feel bad. I feel like as a Nintendo fan, I should love them all. But when I look at my Switch library, there's a lot there I would quite happily trade because I just don't play them. There's probably 5 games on there that I really love. And this Paper Mario was a great surprise for Nintendo fans because they've been so quiet and they've had no news for ages.
One thing I would say about that, and it kind of backs up your point. Last time I was all in, prior to the Wii U, which has got a very similar ending to this.
Yeah.
Last time I was all in as a Nintendo owner was the N64. I've never been so bored. There were some standouts: Jet Force Gemini, Zelda, obviously, Mario 64, Donkey Kong 64, GoldenEye. But that's 5 or 6 games.
Yeah, this is the thing with
Rogue
them,
Squadron,
like I say,
but you know, I know someone will come in now and be like, "Oh, I can list this," and I'll be like, "Yeah, but no."
Again, that is personal opinion. I think you are right to some extent. When I had the PlayStation and I had the N64, me and my brother used to kind of mix and match. Like, just one week there'd be something good, the next month there'd be something else on the other console. They are really good at making like generation defining games and experiences, but there's also a lot of, and especially in the latter days now with the Switch, there's a lot of stuff they churn out that I'm like, that's not like, they seem to have these 2 or 3 levels of how good said titles are. I've not played Animal Crossing, so I don't want to comment, but like Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey, I just seem to be light years ahead of some of the other stuff they put out first party wise. I'm rambling a bit, but I think the Paper Mario announcement, I was like, oh great, I kind of knew that was coming anyway. I've read a lot of rumours that was coming as part of the Mario, I think, 35th anniversary. They're going to do supposedly remasters of those other 3D Mario games as well, which would be great. But again, the remasters, as much as I thought that's cool, do it as like an All-Stars package, I'd have been happy seeing Odyssey 2 or maybe another 3D Mario. Maybe that's completely too soon.
I think that would have been a nicer celebration, and then release those on the QT, maybe in their original form. I don't think
just
some of the 3D
original,
Marios need...
Just to be seen on a HD screen, really, would
be enough.
That's what I think. That's a really good point, and I don't think it's going to. You want
to celebrate an innovative little platformer? Give us a new game with him. Don't.
Yeah, exactly.
And then as an aside, as a little bonus, give us the Ultimate All Stars edition, which has got every Mario mainstream platform and adventure. So all the ones that are on the original All Stars, Super Mario World, Galaxy, Mario 64, Sunshine, and then leave Odyssey out of that pack because it's separate. It's on the Switch, and then give us Odyssey 2 or similar.
Yeah,
please.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm not going to rubbish this new Paper Mario because I've never played one of them, and I think they've got a lot of hardcore fans who really love them. It's probably going to be a reasonable sized game for the price. I think they are.
Yeah, I picked up one on the Wii.
Apparently, the N64 one is the best one. I think it's the N64 one or the Cube. I don't know. Like I say, a lot of
the Cube one's worth a lot of money. I know. I thought I had the Cube one. I really thought I had the Cube one, and I can't find it anywhere.
I think it's 1,000-year door, the Cube one. I think it's worth a bit of money, but like you say, sometimes I was hoping for like Bayonetta 3 or Breath of the Wild 2 announcements, and we're probably not going to get those this year, or maybe if we do, it'll be the end of the year. There's rumours that they're ditching the direct thing for now because of coronavirus, and they're just going to do a few like surprise announcements through the summer. I think that's probably the way they're going to go. But
we're ditching a non-live event that's just online because of corona.
They're very strange, aren't they? Like Sony have said, no, there's not going to be any delays to the PS5. This is a whole new console. Yet Nintendo coming out saying, oh, there might be delays to some of our games. I do believe where you're right sometimes and think, I don't know whether they've got stuff ready. I mean, there hasn't been a main direct, I think, since November last year. We've had a mini direct, which was okay. It was a lot of filler and third-party stuff. It's just
it's almost as if they had accepted their fate at the end of the Wii U and just bumbled the Switch out, thinking, well, we're not making a proper big console anymore, so we'll come out But
I
we know a
love
lot
the
of fans will
Switch.
be unhappy. Well, you love it, but you've give it away. I
I do,
know a lot of
yeah, I
fans
know,
will be
yeah.
unhappy about us not doing a main console anymore. So why don't we try and do something that's going to replace the 3DS, because that's getting a bit creaky.
Yeah.
But make it so you can, like the idea of the Wii U, but actually a working idea of
Good.
the Wii U.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, right.
I
Yeah.
think-
Okay. Yeah. That would keep everyone happy, but it'll also allow us to sneak into being a handheld manufacturer only without anyone noticing. Yeah. Get it out. What games have we got? Oh, well, I didn't think we'd be here next week, so we ain't really got out. We've got that Wii U game we had out, that Zelda game. Well, that was great.
That's
That would have
another
sold
thing,
a lot of Wii U's. That would have sold a hell of a lot of Wii U's if they'd actually brought that out on the Wii U.
Yeah, exactly. I think they just need to be careful. They've got a really strong market at the minute, but I don't see this being a big year for them, really. Sadly, as well, because like I say, I do love the Switch. I think it's a great little machine, and I think it's a great companion console. But I was just hoping to.
What world are we in when
see,
Nintendo's a great companion console?
It's always been like that for quite a while, hasn't it? I think I've always owned some form of either Nintendo handheld or console, along with like one of the main sort of Xbox or PlayStations. We're digressing a bit on this anyway, but I don't want to rubbish Nintendo. I think it's just a personal opinion. I've been a bit disappointed with them this year, and that's just a selfish opinion of like they're not the games I want to play. But there's a lot of people who do like them. Maybe have outgrown it a little bit. It's just I can't. I think the gap is so big when you just have an experience or constant good experiences on the PlayStation or Xbox of these big, massive, quite realistic looking games. But then they just they come along and do it like a Breath of the Wild, and I'm like, yeah, I still love you.
True.
Where we've got a list of comments.
One thing I would say about Breath of the Wild is that did many kids think, "Oh, this is great," or was it mainly older gamers like you that were like, "Oh, yeah, it's exactly what I always wanted"?
Oh yeah, 100%. I think.
I don't think they're attracting. I know a lot of kids have got Switches because it means that mum and dad don't have to sacrifice the TV. But I don't think many of them. I don't know. It's hard to know. I know from my experience, the kids aren't really thinking that Breath of the Wild's amazing. They'll play it because if I make them play it because they're banned from any other one of these multiplayer online games, then that's, you'll game on whatever you can game on. But the Switch isn't really that appealing as far as sort of outside of, I would say, 30 plus. Most of the people that have got a Switch are using it to play massively multiplayer free online games.
Yeah, I think that's a valid point. I agree.
Scary times. Game and get paid and get fit. While exercise is one of the few freedoms we can enjoy during lockdown, it's not easy for everyone to get a regular workout in. Whether you're frantically juggling home working and childcare, rushed off your feet as a key worker, or trying to self-isolate, getting out for that run or a cycle isn't always practical. Luckily, home workouts are on the rise. With gyms streaming classes online and wealth of free content available on YouTube, even your games console can help you get fit now, and you can get paid £500 to see the results for yourself. Sports multivitamin company LiveIt is recruiting 4 people. Yeah, so, it's news, but it's not really news. To test out video game workouts for a month in a bid to discover how effective exergaming is. The successful applicants will be provided with a Nintendo Switch and 4 games: Ring Fit Adventure, Just Dance, Zumba Burn It Up, and Arms by Live It themselves. They'll be required to complete a workout game every day for 1 hour over 4 consecutive weeks while continuing to eat their normal diet. At the end of each week, they'll need to submit a diary detailing their mood, energy levels, as well as their weight. Livit's launching the study after a survey revealed almost 48% of Brits have taken up virtual exercise while in lockdown. Tom? Have you done any virtual exercise, friend, or have you just been moving a sandwich from the plate to your mouth?
Yes, definitely the latter. I think
too
it's
easy
great
to eat at the moment, isn't it?
It's a great idea to do this, and I think like Ring Fit Adventure and things like that are great. But my personal choice is it's got no place in gaming. I'm not interested in any of that. I don't want to do any kind of exercise when I'm playing a game other than using my brain and my fingers.
There's a lot of. I remember when the PlayStation Eye came out, and the wife at the time, she went and got like a fitness game for it, and didn't really work. And to be fair, probably half. I sometimes think that if you can't really be bothered to exercise, i.e., go outside and run about or stop eating, you find an excuse which is some sort of a fad. Be it a games console, I'll get fit. Yeah, it's in the house, it's near the TV. I use that, and you never do. These Ring Fit Adventures, I know there's evidence of people having lost a load of weight, but I think these people would have lost a load of weight one way or the other, be it through the game or by sealing their mouth shut. And I think that, I think when you buy a piece of a fitness equipment for a game, it's a way of making yourself feel slim for an afternoon. You probably would have been better off spending that money on some trainers.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that.
I know I'm going to get loads of messages now saying, you don't understand, George. It's, I can't get out and, I'm socially isolating and blah, blah, blah. I'm just talking in general. I am.
Yeah, I think out of lockdown circumstance, you're always going to be better. And we're a video game podcast, but I'd always say just get a set of running shoes or a cheap bike or something and just do something like that. Or even one of the best ones. And let me
tell you the science behind losing weight. And it's pretty harsh. And I love food. It's to do more calorific burn than you eat.
Yeah.
You're going to feel hungry and you're going to feel blooming miserable, but you're going to feel excellent with yourself when it's completed.
Very wise words. Very good. Yeah, agree with that. I burn a lot of calories at work, but I also eat a lot. It's just the older I've got, it's getting a little bit harder to keep that balance of keeping the calories and burn equal.
Well, one thing I would say is I know it's time consuming. But there was a time when I was a larger gentleman than I am, and the vast majority of my weight came off through high-speed walking. Not like the Olympic walking that you see, but just going out and looking like you've got to get somewhere with the pace on.
Yeah.
2 or 3 hours of that a day, and the weight will fall off. It's just committing to it, because it does mean 2 or 3 hours a day where you could be playing video games or doing your extra hours of work that they all require these days and other stuff.
I think it's about making sure, I know we're deviating a bit here, but it's about earning your time gaming as well. I know in like lockdown or furlough, while I was on that, I thought I could literally, well, obviously with the boy, I can't do that, but if we hadn't have had children at that time, I could have thought I could sit and play video games for like 8 hours a day. And then you think, I haven't earned that. I'm going to feel rubbish because I'll eat trash. I'll not exercise. I'll get backache, bad posture. You got to go out and earn it. You got to just earn that bit of time.
Yeah.
And think, you know what, I've done enough exercise today. I've not eaten too badly. I'm going to sit for a few hours and play some video games because that's what I love. And it's just that. That's the simple
well, I have
thing.
to admit, there was. We all got into a nice routine during furlough, and I got into the routine of in the day, I would go out and do a walk or a run or a bike ride, or all three normally. And then I would get back, and around sort of 5 o'clock when you'd normally be finishing work, until I started doing the stream, I would have I would have then sat down and gamed for 4 or 5 hours and felt like, yeah, that's worthy. My legs are aching. I'll prop them up higher than as high as I can on the sofa on the little footstool in front of me, just to drain the bad blood and lactic acid out. And, this feels like a worthy thing to do. And I was losing weight and feeling good about myself. Now I'm working from in front of a laptop from 6:30 in the morning till gone 5 o'clock at night. Well, I turn it off just in time to go online and do the stream. I can't go out and then go for a walk, and I could do, but then I feel like, I want my time on my games now after I've given everyone their Minecraft fix. So I'll then go and do retro game. And then I'm like, oh, Jan, you've sat looking at your laptop all day, a little bit sort of bored and distracted because the world's in a strange place. So you've ate probably more than you should have done. And then you've basically not done anything. You've probably completed 200 steps all day. And now you're going to go play retro games and then go to bed. You're getting yourself in a mess here, boy. And I don't quite know what the answer is. I think a lot of people are coming back from or are going to come off a furlough and they're going to be completely paralysed. Not physically, mentally.
I think physically and mentally I felt great on furlough because you live in the life you kind of want to live of like being with your immediate family. It's sad you can't see anyone else or go anywhere, but you've got that routine down. Then you chuck work back in the mix and it's like, oh, now this is hard.
I can completely identify with a lot of people as well who said, oh, I had anxiety before furlough and then furlough gave me a reason to be off. I had no reason to be anywhere. I had one thing to focus on. So therefore my stress levels went completely down, even though we're allegedly in a pandemic. And now I'm out of furlough or coming out of furlough. My anxiety's spiked. Because I feel guilt because I need to be looking positive at work and I kind of don't really know how to anymore. And there's a lot of people who'd be like, oh, well, just get on with it. You got work. What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Sort your head out. You're just being lazy. You've had a 3-4 week paid holiday. Yeah, I understand all that. But the world's not the world it was 10, 20 years ago. It's
no.
It's not.
I hope it's given people perspective as well to probably have time to think about what they want to do and how spending time with family or focusing on one thing you enjoy while being off. Hopefully that continues a little bit, even if it's in a smaller form of like an hour or a couple of hours a day. But it's hard, isn't it? We're back now to most of us are back now to the
real life.
Yeah. It's been a nice...
Or at the moment, what I would like to describe as pretending to be normal, even though in reality it's so far removed from normal, it's almost bizarre.
Yeah. Well, we've gone off on a tangent there, but
they came for the tangent. They got one.
I'm sure they did. They did.
What's this last bit of news, Tom?
Last bit of news: Stars. Resident Evil 3 might have been far too short of an experience, but at least the multiplayer packed in named Resident Evil Resistance could have you coming back for more. The 4 versus 1 online mode features many classic monsters from the franchise's past, and now you can add Nemesis itself to the list. Starting today, you can play as the Tyrant in the Mastermind role. If you select to play as Nikolai Genov and accrue enough points to spawn it, Nemesis is said to be a very speedy character equipped with blood-curdling roar, which stops survivors in their tracks, and tentacles to deal multiple attacks at once. So also sport the classic rocket launcher. The team evaluated all the attacks Nemesis has in Resident Evil 3 and derives its resistance skills from the ones we think would feel the most satisfying for players to use when controlling the Nemesis.
Did you pick up 3? I haven't picked up the remake of 2 or 3.
I've played 2 and finished it, loved it. I will pick up 3 as well at some point. To me,
it's a bit more Resident Evil 4 than I like my survival horrors to be, from what I've seen.
A lot of our loyal listeners have talked about how it's a more action-orientated experience and a faster-paced game about almost like an arcadey type challenge of seeing who can get the fastest run. It was nice to see a lot of that within the fan base over
that was nice on the
sort
Discord,
of the previous months. Speaking of which, we've got one of our very long-term listeners, Vince the Gamer. What's he got to say?
Sending us to the bridge in this big bumper-packed news episode, Tom, Vince the Gamer says, firstly, the main thing I've taken away from all these reveals is that everyone is more interested in being a spec analyst than a gamer. Think of your favourite games of all time. Some of mine are the original Resi Evils and Silent Hills. And I can guarantee you, they weren't in 4K with ray tracing, etc. Whatever happened to great games, no matter their graphics and processing power? Secondly, the thing I'm most excited about is the unexpected announcement of Tony Hawk's Remastered. Honestly, I'd take that game over Cyberpunk any day. Interesting words, Vince the Gamer. One wonders if the original Resi and Silent Hill, if they hadn't been so graphically advanced at the time, whether it would have been so frightening and therefore impactful to you, if there'd have been an 8-bit version of Resi Evil and Silent Hill, with all the gameplay there that you like about those games, would they have been one of your favourite games of all time? I'd say not. But I get your point.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a solid one. One thing that we're seeing a lot of each generation is all these new graphics, 4K and ray tracing, as he talks about. But one thing we never see is this new innovation on gameplay style. Everything seems to be an iteration of an iteration of an iteration of an iteration. And we don't seem to be advancing push crate to corner of room, climb, get item, unlock door, move to next area.
Just quickly before we go, it's got me kind of thinking of The Last of Us 2 looks a very big leap from Last of Us 1 graphically. Is it just going to have the same Naughty Dog bolted on, push this box into the corner to get friend up onto ledge so they can pull you up?
Have you ever seen anything so ridiculous and weird? Have you ever tried to get a pallet to float? Have you ever tried to get someone to stand on an unbuoyanced pallet that can't swim so you can move them from A to B? Utter drivel.
That's where I completely agree. We need to see some innovations in the way things are more natural.
If as Joel in The Last of Us, one eyebrow hair pops above a pallet, they come over and cleave your face in. Never mind the fact that Ellie's just stood up in front of them and walked, gone, and then glitched in front of a wall, then crouched. I can't see her. I can't see her. But if you dare even demap from that crouch position, I will end you.
Yeah. It's annoying, isn't it?
Yeah.
And more than unrealistic graphics, it takes you out of it more.
That's my only bugbear with that's been my only bugbear with The Last of Us. People are, it's classic, it's aged really well. Has it? Has it?
Yeah, there's arguments for and against, isn't there?
The story's great, and that's what they're good for, but some of that glitchy gameplay is unnecessary.
Yeah, agreed.
Well, is that it, Tom?
That's it. That's
do
it.
They?
News.
Do you think
the feature news?
Yes. Well, we've got to say it though because it's only right and proper. We paid James to write a script. One wonders if he was taking money out my bank account this week and didn't do a very good job. One would imagine so. Did we miss anything? Do you have an opinion or take on the news we missed? If so, Tom, how do the collective masses get in touch with us and say, no, guys, you totally missed the reveal of this game, that game, and the other game, and PlayStation 5 showed the box, and James' work experience, boys, script was absolutely pony this week. Sort it out and come back next week fighting. How might they say that?
You can direct messages on Instagram or Twitter. Let us know on our Discord channel, which can be linked through the Instagram page. Questions. Also, our email is questions@unofficialcontrollerpodcast.com. So please get in touch.
One person that never lets us down is the mighty Stingers. Now, I've had a pickup and a half this week, Tom. Picked up probably somewhere in the region of about 150 VHS cassettes, all from the Ray. You're laughing, right? To bolster up my.
Where have you got these from?
eBay. And therefore, I've got a smorgasbord of titles to pick out for the next 3, 4, 5 calendar years of Stingrays Boots VHS picks.
What do the kids think of the quality?
I think it's
Or
great.
do they just not? Okay.
They actually find it quite a novelty.
What, the poor audio and bad picture?
Do you know what, mate?
When there's 4K TV sat downstairs.
It's not that bad. It's not as bad as you make it out to be.
Okay. All right. Okay. I'd be curious to see what one looks like now. I've not seen one, obviously, in years. But are you going to pick one of those out for the boot?
Yeah, I think so. I'll pick an obvious one to begin with, but yeah, I've got one of those. Okay. Have you got yourself? What you got picked out as a mummy?
Let's have a look at the list, shall we?
Well, there's one on the Switch which you might go for, a Brum Brum game, or you could go for a safe bet, which is the first one. I've picked mine, which is the last one.
I'll take the first one then.
Okay, it's time. What's he been up to this week, Tom? Posing as someone on eBay, so I buy a load of his tat that I wouldn't normally buy from him?
I think so. Okay. Racing 565.
369 420 in the law of the show. Anyway, he tears up the drive. His wallet looks stuffed full of Reddies. Well, not really, because I only paid a tenner for the lot of them. Time for a peek at what we affectionately call Stingrays Boot. What's nestled between some counterfeit nappies and a dodgy copy of Battle Friend all this week. These are the new release highlights for the week May 11th to May 17th, 2020. Listeners, these are out in digital or physical, or will be by the time this podcast is in your feed, but could be, region dependent. Tom, the boot's popped, cigarettes lit, shady look at you. Pull it out.
My mummy pick this week is Halo 2 Anniversary on the PC. Yeah.
When's that out?
That's out May the 12th.
Wow.
The Halo 2 Anniversary edition comes to PC as the next installment in the Halo Master Chief Collection. Following the destruction of Halo, humankind experiences a short-lived victory. Eager for revenge, the Covenant launches a surprise attack on Earth, but they find themselves ill-prepared to defeat the UNSC's home fleet and are forced to flee into slipspace. When the Master Chief pursues his overzealous enemies, they discover yet another Halo ring, uncovering long-buried secrets, including an unlikely ally that will dramatically alter the course of human Covenant conflict forever.
I thought 2 was all right, to be fair, when it launched on Xbox original.
I think they were building it up like to have this big battle on Earth, and I had it way bigger in my head. And then when I played it, I was like, it's not actually that great. Then 3 came out. I thought that was awesome. I thought 3 is the strongest entry for me out of all of them.
Yeah, I think that 2's probably aged the worst out of all of them, I would say.
Yeah. 4 and 5 are quite good. I don't think they've done anything wrong there. 4 probably being the better out of the 2, but yeah, both still very good games.
Well, up next, Wolf and Pigs Out for Vengeance on PC May 13th. Wolf and Pigs Out for Vengeance is a fresh take on the classic fable, The Three Little Pigs. When the notorious Pig Brothers gang invades the new world to build their compound, an unlikely protector vows to put an end to the pigs' greedy, nature-destroying ways.
Very bizarre. We've got TT Isle of Man Ride on the Edge 2 Switch May 14th. Racing across over a 60-kilometre ultra-technical track at breakneck speed requiring realistic riding skills. That is the challenge that awaits in TT2.
Well, I'll take the last 2 then. Do you want to tell me your VHS pick?
Oh, you put me on the spot. Can I wait till the end? Because I need to.
Mine's going to be Puppet Master on VHS. I've got a big box version here out of Ray. It's ex-rental. Gotta love a Ray Rex rental. I've also found the aforementioned Arctic Heat or Born American on eBay, so I'm going to pick that up as well, just for the nostalgia vibes. less said, soonest mending, I would say. Hatsune Miku Project Diva Megamix Switch, May 15th. Hatsune Miku Project Diva Megamix brings back classic gameplay in arcade mode. We'll try the brand new Mix mode, designed specifically for the Nintendo Switch. And My Mummy Mummy, this is bizarre. It's beyond bizarre, but you need to go check it out. It did win some awards. Tales from Off-Peak City, Volume 1, PC, May 15th. On the corner of July Avenue and Yam Street, all is not what it seems. What role will you play in the city's fate? Now, that game, for me, had vibes of Omicron, or whatever it was called, on Dreamcast with David Bowie. It had shades of Twin Peaks. It had shades of some of the worst graphics you've ever seen and some of the strangest dialogue you've ever seen. But I implore you to go have a little look at Tales from Off-Peak City Volume 1. It's my mummy pick. So you went with a safe blockbuster. I pulled out a VHS and a game out the boot, which if Mumsy saw, she would probably tell me to put them back. You're not having that. It's not big. You're not big enough for those. That's how we're living now.
Well, I'm pulling out a horror classic, slasher from the 90s, a film that encapsulates a lot of what the 90s were. Scream, starring Neve Campbell, Courtney Cox.
How very novel.
Yeah, I was a big fan of that back in the day.
I wonder if that's aged well.
I think...
Or did the scary movie pastiche take away all of its impetus?
I think a little bit, yeah. It did make it a little bit of a joke. Yeah.
Terrible.
Almost spoilt it. I think the first one, especially that opening sort of 10 minutes with Drew Barrymore receiving the phone call from the killer is horrifying. I don't know. That's 15-year-old me sort of talking, but it's yeah. I still think a decent horror film, that is.
Well, enough of the scare tactics, Tom. Those that paid attention at the top of the show, they know I'm about to say to you, what are you hoping to play, friend?
I think hopefully might get Last of Us finished this week. I've still got a few more weeks if I don't get time before the sequel. The usual online multiplayers and maybe a bit more Streets of Rage, continuing to complete our arcade run if possible, get a few more trophies out of that.
Yeah.
That's about it. Yeah, it's a steady summer, isn't it, usually in gaming, for new releases anyway, even more so now. So you're just hanging on in there for those...
big time.
For the big stuff.
Is it my turn?
It is. What are you hoping to play?
I'm hoping to play. Week? So I managed to bag myself a copy of NBA 2K20 for $3.99. Yeah. I got the heads up and thought, yeah, that's fair enough. Although apparently last year they did the same thing and then riddled the game with adverts. So maybe I've just paid $3.99 for a 4-hour advert, which would be pretty horrifying, to be fair. Minecraft, obviously, I won't labour on that. I'm trying to find another game to diversify my tastes with. I might try and do a bit more Prince of Persia, but that game's not aged very well. Not at all. I
do like I like the streaming schedule you have, and I would like to see Minecraft followed by, or I think I reckon the listeners want to. Why don't you do a poll maybe about what they'd want to see you play?
What if I don't have it? Then I have to spend real money on it.
I think with your collection, they'd be able to find something on PS4 that you could stream.
The one thing I like about the streaming on the PS4, it's one button and it's done.
It's just nice and simple,
do you? You don't even need to know anything about technical, so you can just press one button, and you can be streaming live to the whole world. And that's fascinating. So,
I think
maybe a Quantic Dream game. It's just hard to find a game, as we found on Streets of Rage. People come for the colour commentary and they want to hear you talking, so they can build that relationship with you on air.
Yeah,
Minecraft facilitates that so well. if there's a game that requires you to be a little bit more finger buttony or has got cutscenes where the animation gets blocked, I think it detracts from the stream. So finding a game that's not going to block gameplay is finding a game that's not going to cause me to get so engrossed in the gameplay or have to get so engrossed in the gameplay. I can't give people that little fun aspect they enjoy. It's a balance.
Yeah, I think if any listeners who are tuning in now who also watch your streaming have any ideas, please let us know in the Discord chat,
private message
on Instagram,
on any of the mediums. You know who I am. You know how to get hold of me. Well, I am the show. I don't have my own personal social media. I don't believe in it. It's poison. It's cancer of the soul. And to that end, I might have a blast on some retro games. But other than that, I think that's me. Unless I stumble across an absolute gem, I can get absorbed, kind of like Assassin's Creed sucked me in.
You do get absorbed, definitely.
That's one of our family traits, that is.
Yeah.
Get strangely obsessed with something to the point of obsession and then just throw it away like a discarded rag a week later.
Yeah.
Curse of our family.
Yeah.
Still remain an expert in it for the rest of your life, but
yeah. One week of knowledge equates to a lifetime of being right about said subject.
Yeah, you're right. It's dangerous. And before the internet, it was. Oh crikey! That was a deep pit to fall into, wasn't it?
Our whole podcast is just done over the week from last year, isn't it? Just all catalogued together. We're actually no interest in gaming anymore.
None at all. I need to go. I need to gargle.
Yeah,
I've used my voice so much that I can't this week and the past weeks. I'm struggling not to sound croaky. So I shall take a leaf out of your book, Tom. I shall gargle lavender and dock leaves for the next 3/4 of an hour while supervising Phil, the producer, putting the show together. I shall then go on air and roll out an hour weekend stream. How's that sound?
That sounds very nice. I will see you soon.
Enjoy yourself. Take care.
You too.
Wait, Tom, what's going on?
No.
Because we ain't got the script, we're dirt pigs, aren't we? They came for this.
You don't need to do the outro.
We do. That's all we have time for this week, listeners. As always, thank you for your time. Look forward to the pleasure of speaking to you again next week. Until then, remember, there's nothing wrong with being given the unofficial controller. It's what you do with it that counts. I think that's a nice way to end every show, Tom. Reminds people that even if they've got some sort of a bad vibe going on in their life, as long as they take that, turn it around and make something good of it, everything will be okay.
Absolutely. Take care, mate.
See you next week, Tom.
Cheers, man. Bye.